What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the House of Riddict Pro Wrestling Podcast for March 11th, 2025. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on a few key moments from last night's Raw and some news bits that have been coming out over the last 24 hours as well. So we're going to dive right into those Raw thoughts and opinions right away. I don't cover the whole show beat by beat on here. I just give you my thoughts and opinions on the main key takeaways from each show. So whatever I thought was the most important aspects, that's what we're going to talk about. Such as, we had Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller. Jey, of course, won, beat Waller. And as you would expect, Gunther came out and attacked Jey after the match. This is the problem you run into when your WrestleMania is moved up, or moved out, I should say, further away than it usually is, because now you have all this time you have to fill with the Royal Rumble winner and the title holder between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, which is quite a long time. And this is what happens. You get this, and it's like every week we're doing something like this. This just can't go on forever, you know? We have to change it up a little bit and do something. I don't know what it is we could do different, but absolutely going to have to try to attempt to do something different here because it's getting stale when you're just doing the same thing over and over. I'm still very much excited to see the actual match at WrestleMania. I want to see Jey win it, but we're starting to hit points where on the road there, it's getting a little bit stale. Then we had Chad Gable, or so we thought was Chad Gable, show up during the New Day's match with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. A man jumps the barricade in a Lucha Mask. Just so happens this Lucha Mask says American made on it. Looks like Chad Gable, walks like Chad Gable, does suplexes like Chad Gable. Then security takes him and grabs him over the rail, takes him to the back, and we think, okay. Obviously, Michael Cole is pretty much ready to say that it's Chad Gable, but Pat McAfee is not quite there yet. Later on in the night, we see Kathy Kelly interviewing Chad Gable and straight up saying that he's the one behind the mask, and he's like, no, how could you imply this upon me, right? Well, as she's saying this, and he's denying it, we see in the background security hauling off a man in that mask, in the same clothes that Chad Gable was wearing, of course. Chad was wearing the same clothes as the attacker when he was being interviewed by Kathy Kelly. But in the background, we see another man in that mask being taken out of the building by security. So, did he pay somebody to put the mask on and take the fall, or who was that? We don't know. But I can tell you right now that the man that was out there at the ring, out in the arena, was definitely Chad Gable. There was no mistaking him and how he operates. So, look forward to that. Some twists and turns with that we probably didn't expect coming. Some kind of imposter Chad Gable, I suppose. Then we move on to Iyo Sky was being interviewed by Michael Cole in the ring about her title win and how she feels about going to WrestleMania. Of course, she's very excited. The fans are really, really behind Iyo Sky. Then Michael Cole has Bianca Belair come out. She comes out and asks her a couple questions about what's her thoughts on the match at WrestleMania. And she doesn't get to say too much before Rhea Ripley's music hits, and she comes out pretty much railing against Bianca, saying that she did what she did on purpose. She was out there on purpose to ruin her match. And even though last week we had an interview with Rhea where she pretty much admitted that she was stupid and she is the reason the match went to hell, yet now here we are, and she's out there, blaming Bianca for everything again. In the middle of all this, Io's trying to get in between them. Rhea pie faces Iyo and pushes her down. And then Iyo gets up. She tries to get back in the middle again. Bianca then pie faces Iyo out of the way. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. That's how we're going to treat her out here right now? Oh, no. She comes back. She pushes them apart. She slaps the taste out of Rhea's mouth. And then she pushes Bianca and slaps the taste out of her mouth too. Says, I'm the damn champ. Jumping up and down. I'm the one going to WrestleMania. Very upset. Then she leaves. And Bianca and Rhea are looking at each other like, yikes. Did not see that coming. You didn't see that coming after you shoved her around like that and treated her like an afterthought. She's not an afterthought. That's what Iyo says. I'm not an afterthought. Another key moment was Cody had a promo tonight. And honestly, it was pretty much the same thing as on SmackDown, guys. Pretty much the same. His eyes looking a little better this week. He still had the cotton in his ear when he came out to kind of hush the pyro, and then he takes it out after the pyro. I still think that's just something they're running with as a gimmick because of what people thought online or false reports about his eardrum. Or maybe they aren't false. Who knows? There's no real solid information on that. So it was pretty much the same promos on SmackDown. So if you saw that, you pretty much saw this. No big difference other than John Cena will definitely be on Raw next week in Brussels, and Cody will be there too. Keep in mind, Raw next week, being that it is in Brussels, will actually air live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over here in the United States. So if you want to watch it live, you're going to have to watch it at 3 p.m. or else you'll come home from work and it'll be there and you can watch it after the fact. But yeah, it's going to be a weird few weeks with these times on how they air. Pretty sure on USA Network here in America, it'll just be on tape delay and air in its normal spot as far as SmackDown goes. But Cody, same, pretty much the same promo, just kind of mixing in the fact that John Cena will be around next Monday and throwing it in his face that he wasn't around at Madison Square Garden, and so there was that. Finally, on Monday Night Raw, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in a steel cage. And when you heard this match announced, you had to know that this was going to be the return of Roman Reigns. You had to know this based on what happened at the Royal Rumble. Rollins taking Reigns out with a double stomp and a stomp on the stairs. CM Punk eliminated both of them, but then, of course, Punk gets eliminated. But you had to know this was going to lead to the return of Roman Reigns. However, what we ended up with at the very end of this, something I didn't see coming, at least not yet. I kind of saw this maybe happening later down the line, but did not see this coming right now. And what I'm talking about is Paul Heyman. And we're going to get to that in a second. But CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in a very, very good cage match. One of the greatest cage matches on regular TV in a while. Lots of finisher spams, though. The finishers were being spammed like crazy. Now, you have to keep in mind, this happens very little on WWE TV as of late. In the big matches with the biggest stars, it does tend to happen, but definitely not on regular TV and not even so much on the POEs. It's not that common for that kind of spamming of finishers, unless you're talking WrestleMania, right? We definitely get it at WrestleMania and sometimes SummerSlam. For regular TV, it just doesn't happen. So the fact that they wanted to kill each other and they're just constantly kicking out of their finishers, I'm okay with that because it made sense to the story that's at play. But it was a little bit much, all right? It was a little much, but I understand it. This is one time where I can say, all right, it makes sense because they really want to kill each other. They're just going to keep going and nothing's going to stop them. I get it. But yes, you will look at that and say, wow, really? That's a lot. Seth had the match won pretty much. All he had to do was crawl out. They both had the match won multiple times. Could have just walked out and they taunted each other with middle fingers and everything else. But near the end, Seth had the match won. All he had to do was walk out of the cage. And instead, he waited. He was taunting him. And then all of a sudden, he's being yanked out of the cage. Of course, the crowd is going nuts. You know somebody's there. And we all know who it was. But Seth gets yanked out of the cage by Roman Reigns. Gets a Superman punch, a spear for his troubles. He continues to beat Seth around the outside of the ring. Of course, because of this, Seth wins because he pulled Seth out of the cage. Punk loses this match. While this is all happening, Roman's thinking about stomping Seth's head on the steel steps after everything else. He gave him a regular stomp, and he was going to stomp him on the steps. Adam Pearce and all the security guys and everybody else came out to stop Reigns. And while this is happening, this is the key takeaway for me. We see in the ring Paul Heyman consoling CM Punk right there in the middle of the ring, holding CM Punk, talking to him, consoling him. And Reigns turns around and sees this, and he's shocked at first, like everybody else. But then, he gets a little smirk on his face, and he's like, oh, really? And then he goes in there, throws Punk up against the cage a few times, spear, knocks him, lays him out completely. Heyman's in the corner, shivering and shaking in fear and terror because of this. Reigns puts up the 1, and we go off the air. And that's how Raw ends. And that is the key takeaway from that, is Paul Heyman consoling CM Punk at the end of that. Whose side will Paul Heyman be on, is the question here. I think to change things up, because you've done so much with the Bloodline story, and Reigns is now babyface, supposedly. And quite frankly, I think you should keep Reigns babyface and actually turn Seth Rollins heel, because, my God, he needs it. He needs something. I mean, he almost is heel with everything going on right here. But you have Reigns, keep him face, I would. CM Punk, obviously, you got to keep face, but Rollins should go heel. But who does Heyman side with? I mean, he doesn't have to choose who he sides with, I guess. He can straddle that line, I suppose. But I feel like if he went with Punk, it would change things up and set Punk up for a title run later down the year, as the year goes on. Maybe he gets it off of John Cena, as was talked about in the past. If Cena wins 17 from Cody at WrestleMania, Punk can be the one to take it off of him. We don't know. We'll see. But the whole dynamic of Paul Heyman, who will he side with, has definitely added some twists and turns, as Triple H likes to say, to what's going on here. And I'm very interested to see where this goes. So they got me on that one, absolutely. So the cage match was great. Spamming finishers left and right, not so great, but understandable in the context of what was going on. And then, of course, the Paul Heyman angle. Who will he side with? CM Punk or Roman Reigns? And that's my thoughts on this past Monday's Raw. Now we're going to move on to a little bit of news that I have for you. Just a couple little news bits that I'm going to throw in here, guys, that I thought was fairly important to address. And we're going to start out with the WWE Hall of Fame and how it's going to take place. And this is confusing me. But here's WWE's press release. I'm going to read a little bit of it, and then we'll talk about it. So March 10th, 2025, WWE in partnership with Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, the official host hotel of WrestleMania 41, and the newest luxury hotel to debut on the Strip, today announced that the 2025 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony will take place on Friday, April 18th at 8 p.m. Pacific Time at the resort's state-of-the-art 90,000 square foot Blue Live Theater as part of WrestleMania weekend. See, this has confused me now. We have SmackDown taking place on Friday, right? Unless we're taping SmackDown. What are we doing? Are we taping SmackDown? I don't understand. I don't think so. I think that's a live show, I think. I don't know. I have to, you know what? I'm going to go check. We're checking this right now because this is so weird to me. Okay, and we're going to figure this out right now. Friday Night SmackDown, April 18th, is live from Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. Starts at 4:30 p.m. So, when they say it starts at 4:30 p.m., the actual SmackDown don't start at 4:30 p.m., so that gives you like about a half hour to an hour of dark matches and other shows that they film. So it starts at 4:30, so you figure, we'll say 5:30, we'll say 5 to be generous. Say SmackDown starts at 5, the recording of or the live airing of SmackDown, we'll say it starts at 5, right? SmackDown is 3 hours. So what you're telling me is the people that go to the live SmackDown, once the SmackDown ends, they have to run across the street or wherever they're at and get to this other venue for the Hall of Fame, which you know it just ain't lickety-split getting into these places. So the Hall of Fame is in a different venue, which people wanted, yet it still takes place after SmackDown, and they have to change venues, and anybody with tickets are going to have to go from SmackDown and run across the street to the other venue and hopefully get in there in time. I don't understand that. Like, that's a little crazy. A little crazy there. It says, leveraging the 3-level venue's industry-leading multifunctional capabilities, the 2025 Hall of Fame ceremony will give the WWE Universe an unforgettable experience, headlined by 2025 WWE Hall of Fame inductees, WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque, Michelle McCool, Lex Luger, and other inductees yet to be announced in the coming weeks, which we don't know exactly who that will be yet. There's some rumors out there on a few different people. We will find out. Exclusive pre-sale opportunity for the Hall of Fame will begin Wednesday, March 12th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time via Ticketmaster. So, if you've already got tickets to SmackDown in Las Vegas that week and you're going to get tickets to this, just know that you're going to be on the hustle from venue to venue to get to both, which is just so confusing to me. I don't understand why they would do that. I thought that the whole point of doing it in a different venue was to do it so that it felt more like its own thing, but also so people could still get to it, and you're doing it literally after SmackDown goes off the air. I'm confused. I don't know. Maybe they have it all worked out, and I just don't know, and we don't know, but we'll find out, I guess, because that is a little insane to me. I don't know. Now, we're going to go over to another little news bit, and this one comes from Wrestling Inc., by way of WSN, I think it was, or WFan, sorry, not WSN. WFan interviewed Seth Rollins, and he addressed Becky Lynch and where she's been. And we're going to find out what he said right now. That question was posed to her husband, WWE star Seth Rollins, when he stopped by WFan for an interview earlier this week. Rollins clarified that Lynch was doing just fine, and that despite the time off, there's no plans for Lynch to start winding down her career just yet. He says she took a few months off, Rollins said. She did some television and film projects, so she's gearing up to get ready to come back. I don't know when that's going to happen just yet, but she is active, I will say. She's not retired. She's not mentioned anything about retirement. There are future plans for her in professional wrestling. Even while gone, Lynch has been keeping tabs on WWE, most notably Rollins' feud with CM Punk after a fiery exchange between Rollins and Punk on last week's Raw, where Punk mentioned Lynch, and then she took to X to take a shot back by insinuating something between Punk and Roxanne Perez based off their similar ring attire was taking place. Lynch, of course, later deleted the tweet. Punk and Roxanne Perez did have somewhat similar gear, and Lynch said, I don't think I'm the one that needs to come get my man. Now everybody, because of that, everybody is thinking, oh man, are we going to get Becky Lynch and AJ Lee at WrestleMania? You could. I mean, there's still time to do something with that, but I don't think personally that it's going to happen. If I'm wrong, good, because I want to be wrong. I like when they get me and throw one curveball and I don't know what's happening. I don't want to know what's happening. But in this day and age, it's hard. It's hard to not know what's happening, right? So I hope that they do. You know, that would be cool, man. Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee, and it kind of got kicked off with a little weird Twitter feud, X feud. But it makes me think it's not going to happen because she deleted the tweet, right? So, or it could just be because who knows why. I don't know. There's a lot of tweet and deleters out there. You know, they just don't stand by what they said. I don't know. Of course, we covered the whole Dave Meltzer being 0 for 2 with his hot takes. All right, don't listen to Dave Meltzer's hot takes. There's times where he gets it right, okay? But there's a lot recently. He's been fumbling the ball so badly that he's pretty much ruining his credibility as the days and hours go by. So take whatever he says with an absolute grain of salt, because you just can't trust what he's saying anymore. And I'm not so sure it's necessarily all his fault. It could be his sources messing with him, or just they don't know anything and they're just feeding him something to say so he doesn't look like he has nothing to say. I have no idea. Or he's just lying because he wants attention. I have no idea, okay? All I know is when the person that's heavily involved comes out and says, no, you're wrong, and it sounds legitimate, and they're putting their name on that, and they're backing up, I'm going to believe the person that's heavily involved versus the guy on the outside looking in trying to figure out what's going on. You understand what I mean? Real quick, I want to touch on SmackDown from last week and say we had no Alexa Bliss. We had no Wyatt Six. We had no glitches. There was nothing. Literally nothing. So if you're a Wyatt Six fan, an Alexa Bliss fan, in any of that world, you were left sadly disappointed. Disappointed in a 3-hour show that just was absolutely miserable to sit through. It had its moments. It had its decent moments. There were spots that were decent. LA Knight won the United States title back off of Shinsuke Nakamura, who just had an absolutely forgettable U.S. title run. Just lingered in the background, I guess, is how his title run went. So LA Knight got it back. Probably should have never lost it. Cody Rhodes had his promo. He looked all messed up from the events of Elimination Chamber. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember most of anything else. I really don't. I know there was a few things, but one thing I do remember vividly is there was no Wyatt Six, there was no Alexa Bliss, there was no glitches, there was no advancement of their story whatsoever. So if you're a fan of that, absolutely disappointing. We're a Wyatt community here. An absolute huge Wyatt fan community here. And when they give you nothing, it's pretty disappointing. It's pretty disappointing. So SmackDown, huge fail. Just a chore to sit through with these 3 hours. Hopefully they figure something out with that, because it really is. I mean, it's sleep-inducing at times, honestly, try to sit through SmackDown. They say it's going back to 2 hours in the summer. I hope so. I hope so, unless they figure out a way to fill this TV time with something. But you're telling me that you're putting this product out there on SmackDown and really just putting stuff that doesn't even really need to be stretched out that thin or put on there at all, for that matter, over advancing the Wyatt story and Alexa Bliss and stuff like that. You're telling me on a 3-hour show you could not find a place to put them on there to advance that story? I find that very hard to believe. So they're making me mad. They're making me mad. This is a Wyatt community here, guys. So if you're here and you're not a Wyatt fan, you're going to go, oh, cry, Mr. Wyatt fan. You can get the fuck off my channel right now, because this is not the place for you. This is a Wyatt community. We love the Wyatt Six here. We love Bray Wyatt. We love Alexa Bliss. All that stuff, that whole world. This is a community for fans of that. And when they don't give us anything regarding that, it's depressing, and we're going to bitch about it. And we're going to bitch because you have all this time to fill on SmackDown and you're doing nothing with it. Oh, a little glitch for Alexa Bliss the last time she wrestled on the show, which was when? I don't even remember now. And that's my whole point. You got a 3-hour show. You have more than enough time to work them in somewhere every week. Quit it with the special attraction stuff. If you're going to do special attraction, fine. But at least have them out there every other week or something. Not, they're out there and then they're not there for 2 months. They're out there and then they're not there for a month. It gets old, man. I need something. I need something to keep it going. Otherwise, it just, I don't know. It's horrible. It's very frustrating, to say the least. But we can't just keep thinking like that, or else we get frustrated like I am right now. But it's very hard not to. My whole thing is you just don't expect them, and then you won't be let down when they don't show up. But it's very hard to do. Very hard to do, especially when they throw a little... When they weren't doing anything at all, it wasn't too bad. But now they're throwing a little bone out there for you. You're like, oh, look, they teased us with that, and then they just do nothing. That gets annoying. So, just wanted to touch on that. I will be back next week with a full-blown podcast covering news and topics and stuff like that happen throughout the week, and Raw and SmackDown and so forth. Of course, if any breaking news or interesting news happens between then, a simple, quick little news clip will go out for you guys. So, if you like this kind of thing, again, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified when I do upload news videos. And, yeah, with that said, I'll catch you all down the road.